But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is Monday, the start of a new week, and as always on Monday night we have two shows. We'll start tonight with a 5-minute rant, so I'm joined by Chris Hall and Pete. How are you, lads?
Good, thanks, mate.
Very good, thank you.
Good to see you, and well done, Chris. You did Matchday Live at the weekend. I thought you did a sterling job, mate, and ably supported by Daz from Loaded Football, your partner in crime, so I thought you did a good job. Better than the team, it has to be said. Again, I'm just so glad I chose to have that day off. I really am, because I was disappointed, really disappointed, and I think it just capped off a whole week for me. I just wasn't wasn't feeling on top of anything, and it's all down to football. You know, the football's been absolutely horrendous. Bruce seems to think that defence is the way forward. He thinks he's going to get a point out of every game and stay up, and I reached that point where we'll all reach during the season at some point where I was absolutely sick, and the last thing I wanted to do at the weekend was watch Newcastle United, and it's sad that it's getting to that. I'm seeing fans saying the same and people walking away from it, and I think it just hit me. I mean, I'm feeling better this week, but only just, and we're going into another monumental week. But yeah, Chris, well done. It's not easy to do the present, but I thought you did a good job, mate.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yeah, I really enjoyed the opportunity, and obviously it helps, having the panel with me as well. It's not like I was doing it on my own. So, and Daz was a massive help, obviously. So that was really good. But yeah, I just wish the results had been better.
He never misses an opportunity to plug Loaded Football, though.
No, he doesn't, does he? No, not at all.
Good stuff. Now, only joking, Daz. Give the lads a subscription on that channel, Loaded Football. Of course, we give it its start. They've moved across to their own channel, so find Loaded Football on YouTube and subscribe. Pete, good evening, mate.
Evening.
Wow, it's getting worse, isn't it? It really is getting worse. I mean, for me, I just don't know. I don't know where this ends other than relegation. I can't see Newcastle United pulling away from it this time. It just seems that the trapdoor is open and Newcastle are hurtling towards it.
Yeah. Look, I've been last few weeks trying to be as positive as possible. But after the way those results went at the weekend and the way that we played, how unfortunate we were with the own goal, but the fact that we couldn't put the ball in the net. Then you get Brighton doing what they're doing on Sunday. You just think we're not going to, we're just not going to get a break. And the longer we rely on other people to do our jobs for us, the further we're going to hurtle down into the bottom three. And, I'm sure we'll talk about it tonight, but come Friday, it is a real possibility that we're in the bottom three. And the biggest thing for me is that if we go into the bottom three, I don't see us coming out of it. And that's the thing. It's a big worry, a big worry.
Yep, it is. If you want to join the debate tonight, hit the description box. You'll see the link. I've just stuck it onto YouTube as well. As always, we don't set guests up. People come on if they've got something to say. It's your show tonight. Over 140 watching already. Got a point to get across. Click the link, come on. It's as easy as that. Come and give us your views on Newcastle United and what you think Steve Bruce is doing right. What do you think he's doing wrong? Chris, your take on the game at the weekend?
Frustration, really, Steve. I mean, I've seen us play a lot worse. I thought at times we played okay, but like you said at the start of the show, it almost feels like Bruce every game just thinks, great, let's get a point. And sooner or later we're going to come a cropper from it because, Aston Villa were missing Grealish, as you know, and it certainly felt like a game that we could have picked up 3 points. One thing I am really pleased about is how solid the defence is looking. I was pleased to see Manquillo come on, and I'm now hoping that the fact that he's brought Manquillo on shows that he's ready. Or he might not be fully match fit in terms of playing games, but the fact that he's brought him on, I'm hoping that signals the end now for Kraft. And we go with a back four of Manquillo, Lascelles, Clark and Dummett. Since Dummett's come in at left back, he's been excellent. He was my man of the match at the weekend. I thought he was superb, and it's so good to have him back in the team. In terms of the midfield, it was nice to see Jeff Hendrick removed because I really just don't see what he offers the team. I thought Shelby didn't have one of his worst games, but again, same old issues, you know, in terms of legs and you know, productivity. Really, I thought Fraser did well, and again, I was baffled by his substitution because he was the one who got hooked first, and I just couldn't see why. I'm sure Pete will agree. It was one of those baffling moments where you thought he was one of our outlets. Going forward, he was the one who was causing them problems. I also felt that Joe Linton, obviously he's got his knockers, and you know he missed a couple of really good opportunities, not just on target. I mean, in terms of opportunities to shoot, where he passed the ball instead of actually just having a shot, and obviously that comes down to confidence, but also it's where maybe you question, you know, his role as a striker, because we all know he's not a natural number 9. And that was evident. That was evident at the weekend. And you know, Callum Wilson, I know he was watching in the stands. He can't come back soon enough. I mean, we've heard some rumours, haven't we, in the past few days that Miggy might be available for the Brighton game, which would be huge, absolutely huge. I mentioned during Matchday Live that for me, I feel like Miggy, you know, would be an integral part. I know most of the panel said that Wilson, if they had to pick out the 3, they'd want Wilson back first. For me, just as from an attacking point of view, I just can't wait for Miggy to come back, because without Miggy, we just don't look the same team. But as an overall view of the match, I'm really pleased that we got the point. It was fully deserved. It would have been catastrophic if we hadn't got at least a point from that match. And really, for me, we probably deserved to win it. You know, Clark was unlucky with the deflection. Dubravka had no chance with the goal. But I think it's a real positive how we equalised. I'm one of those people who, you know, always looks back at previous results come the end of a season, and I think that could be the turning point. If we do stay up, which I hope we do, obviously, I think we'll look back at that point and think, wow, that was a big turning point. And we were talking just before we came on, Steve, you know, about the other teams, so you know, Brighton and Fulham. The big thing for me, having watched both games, it was obviously, you know, it was disappointing to see Brighton get the 3 points, but I now feel that Brighton aren't our rivals for this drop. I feel like they're going to have enough. I already mentioned to you that Brighton are currently in the expected goals chart. Brighton are 7th in the league, which just shows how many chances they create. But in terms of Fulham, what was pleasing from the 3-0 defeat of City, it wasn't just the result, it was the manner of it. I don't know if you saw it, but they made a couple of howlers in defence, and I thought, is that just going to get in the minds? Is that going to make them feel a bit wobbly for the next game? I hope it does. But you know, the game, we say it every week, don't we? The game this weekend is so huge, and if we do come away with no points, I think we're in big trouble, big trouble. But again, you know, we all want the win. Would a point do? I feel terrible saying it, but it probably would. Right now, I would take a point away to Brighton. I think I said on my predictions a while ago, I don't see us getting anything at Brighton. So for me to get a point away from home, you know, a very decent Brighton side wouldn't be the worst result in the world. Obviously, if we were to get the 3 points, that'd be fantastic. But that's my overall view anyway.
Yeah, I've just got that horrible feeling that Steve Bruce is just trying to get draws. And he just sees this as getting a draw and getting a point at every game is the way forward, and that keeps us up. It's a gamble, because if you're aiming for a draw, then you know a defeat's more than likely if you're not playing to your best of your abilities. If you're aiming for a win and you're falling short, then a draw is a potential, but you know you could get beat as well. But it's not a great way forward for that for me. Before I bring in our first caller, I just want to say well done to the club again, getting it all right as far as paying respects to you know, the former captain and manager of Newcastle United, Glenn Roeder. Picture went up on the screen, and of course the players and the staff all lined up and gave a minute's applause to the late great Glenn Roeder. So at least the club getting things right in that department. Got to say congratulations to Sunderland. Did get a bit of stick on Twitter last night for that. But of course, winners of the Pizza Cup. Well done to Sunderland for winning that. Looks very tasty. Okay, bring Dave Harrison in first. Got Dave Reed waiting as well. But Dave Harrison, good evening.
Hi Steve, lads. How are you doing? You alright?
Yeah, good to see you, mate. How's things?
Yeah, not bad. Thanks for having us back on, yeah. No, I'm well. You know, just can't wait for the end of the month to get the boil, get some shooting done, and say the lads have a bit of crack at the archery field, then I can ignore the football for a while because I'll be shooting some arrows.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see things returning back to some kind of normality. I just wish it would return to some kind of normality and we could be transported back to the mid-90s with Newcastle United and those days of the entertainers. But you've got 5 minutes, Dave. Give us your points on what's going on at St James's Park at the moment.
Well, Steve, it wasn't so much about what was going on at St James's Park. I think we've done that and we're all frustrated. We're all fed up with the whole thing and, what the threes you've said. And your intros, I agree with every word you said. My biggest gripe of this few days has been pundits. I'm getting absolutely fed up to the back teeth with pundits. Now we've got a certain ex-manager today, Mr. Soon, is coming out having a go again. What on earth is going on with these people? They get well paid to talk and frankly, utter bullshit. And soon as I got so angry today reading and what he was saying. I just can't get my head around it. And then, you've got all the other ones, the Savage, and, they're all there. Whether they're so pally with Bruce, but the thing that I noticed today, one or two are starting to say, it's looking bad. Well, we were telling you that at Christmas. We were probably telling you that before Christmas. And now we're starting to realise that actually things are starting to look bad. Well, actually, no, they're not starting to look bad in ages. And we've all seen that, and I get so mad about it. And thinking, where the hell did they come off just having a proper go at us? I mean, soon as today having a go, he's never worked since he left us because frankly he was disaster at Liverpool. He was probably 2 games away from getting the sack. We he won, as he said at the time, he won the lottery getting to come to us. He took a fantastic side and absolutely bloody ruined it. And the demise where we are now probably started with him. And it's been downhill ever since, as far as I'm concerned, apart from obviously Rafa's years, which were starting to come back up again. But, our illustrious owner wouldn't back Rafa with anything. And we are. So I just wonder what your thoughts are. Is it just me, or is everybody think the same way that pundits need to be out of pasture?
I mean, it's a great point because we have talked about pundits before on here, and ultimately, pundits are there to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to, get a reaction from the audience, to pull an audience in. I mean, we saw last week where Piers Morgan walked out of his job at GMTV because of what he felt was, his opinion. He felt his opinion was right and he felt everybody else's opinion was wrong on that. I've got to be honest, I thought that was all stage managed. I think it suits him very nicely. There's 2 brand new news channels going to open up, which are run by 2 of his very close friends, and I expect to see Piers Morgan turn up on one of them and probably getting paid a damn sight more. But the point I'm trying to make is that controversial people who say controversial things are put in those positions to bring in the numbers, to bring in the views, to bring in the people and bring the interaction, and that's what happens with Talk Sport. It's what happens with Sky. It happens with BT and Newcastle fans, I'm afraid, are the fan base out of all fan bases who seem to take the bait more than others. We seem to jump on the opportunity of getting onto the worm on someone's fishing line, as you're doing there, yeah. And we love to get reeled in. And, it's almost as if, sometimes people are planted. I mean, there was one on 5 Live this weekend where a kid came on, spoke to Robbie Savage and more or less, said that he felt Steve Bruce was doing a great job and, he could see us being in Europe next year. Now, I'm not casting aspersions on the BBC here, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if that was a stooge who rang in. Some people say a Sunderland fan, but, for me, I personally felt, again, that was almost stage managed to get people reacting and ringing in. And, you can never believe everything you see on the media. And it's becoming a pain. But I completely agree with you. You're not going to get any argument from me, Dave. It drives me up the wall at times. Unfortunately, the only thing you can do is hit that button and turn over the channel and find something else which doesn't antagonise you as much. Chris, what's your thoughts?
I think Dave made some cracking points. Yeah, I mean, starting with Souness, Dave. Obviously, I think he's incredibly bitter, isn't he, from his time at the club? and I think he felt a lack of support from the board. You know, I remember reading a while back that he had a list of targets, and he said that the board didn't get the targets in that he wanted, and obviously the fans turned on him pretty quickly. And I know you mentioned about Souness breaking up the squad. For me, which it doesn't go down very well from where I'm from, but I always blame Dalglish for at least starting that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think Dalglish got rid of the likes of Ferdinand and Ginola and Asprilla, and he did it pretty quickly as well. And then it just felt like we were on a downward spiral from there. In terms of what Steve just said then as well, you know, about having a shake-up, you know, obviously Piers Morgan leaving, I completely agree with you on that, by the way, Steve. And, you know, we've already seen, haven't we, this season, Sky Sports ruthlessly getting rid of the likes of Letitia and Thompson and Nixon, Charlie Nixon. But I think punditry's going a different way, and, you know, gone are the days where you want a respected pundit on. I mean, from a Newcastle perspective, it was a lovely surprise and a good change to see Rob Lee in the studio at the weekend. That was really good, and obviously Alan Shearer was doing the match commentary. So It was nice to see some, you know, familiar faces there. So, you know, credit to BT Sport for getting Rob Lee on. But in terms of the pundits in general, Dave, yeah, you know, we've had Trevor Sinclair coming out recently, haven't we, saying, you know, maybe the fans are right and us pundits, you know, need to kind of, you know, to eat a bit of humble pie. But unfortunately, not all pundits are that honest. And I thought it was really refreshing when he did do that. And my favourite one, which I tweeted about the other day, was Danny Murphy, who's gone full circle in the space of like 3 months from saying, I don't know what Newcastle fans want, what's the problem, to now saying, oh yeah, I think Newcastle are in big trouble, I fancy them for the drop. And you think, well, hang on, so why isn't, you know, any other pundits or hosts of shows saying, hang on, Danny, didn't you say the other month that, you know, the complete opposite? So that's disappointing, but obviously they're all looking out for each other, aren't they? But I completely agree, Dave. You know, we're always up against it. Certainly at Newcastle, that's how I feel. Always up against it when it comes to pundits, and we're always, you know, classed as being deluders or expecting too much, which is the usual drivel we get from the likes of Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just laughing at Julie's comment there. Are we keeping this week's show PG rating after last week getting hot under the collar? Yes, I think Liam must only get it once a week, maybe he's not having it on Monday. Pete, what's your take on the pundits thing that Dave's brought up tonight?
I've mentioned it before. We very rarely get positive pundits because for pundits to talk negatively about Newcastle, it gets a bigger reaction. It's as simple as that. And, you know, Steve, you've touched on it about the fact that, you know, Newcastle fans as a fan base, we are quick to jump. It's something we need to improve on, because if we're gonna cut the amount of negative press that we get in the media, we need to make sure that we're a little bit smarter as a fan base and not react to every negativity that's thrown our way. And we're an easy touch. So you see the likes of Savage and Sutton. I've got no doubts that Dougie on 5 Live was a planted caller. TalkSport do it all the time, and they're well known for having their planted callers on there. And you know, it's been an ongoing thing for years now, all the way back to, you know, I remember watching the Newcastle Man U 5-0, and they had Steve Bruce, funny enough, in the studio. And, you know, considering he was a Geordie, all he did was talk about Man United and how Man United were going to win and how Man United was such a much better team. So it's been going on all the way back since, you know, the mid-90s. It's not changed. You've had Kieran Dyer, you know, you've had Graham Souness. You know, you put anybody else that's negative, anybody else that's had a negative experience, Jermaine Genius, you've got even Joe Cole doing it now, bigging up Steve Bruce. Talking about Steve Bruce, that, you know, he's doing a great job and he's a good manager and all the rest of it. Yeah, but would you have, Joe Cole, would you have gone and played under Steve Bruce in the height of your career? No chance. So there's no point him saying to his Newcastle players right now that, oh yeah, he's a good manager, you need to get behind him, when he no way would have ever played under Steve Bruce and his way of management. So, you know, it is what it is, and what you see now is a lot of the pundits starting to claw it back because there's no positive spin on it anymore. Steve Bruce is doing a horrendous job. He's doing a horrendous job as manager of Newcastle United. And all those pundits, even Simon Jordan's not even talking about it nowadays. He can't even defend it. All of these guys that are his mates cannot defend Steve Bruce and what he's doing at the moment because it's not good enough. It's not even good enough at championship level. So that's where we are. I mean, just to touch on the Graham Souness thing, Graham Souness was probably single-handedly one of the worst appointments that Newcastle ever made. There seemed to be this mindset that we needed to tame some of these young players in the changing rooms, and we needed a disciplinarian. No, they just needed an arm round the shoulder, and we should have persisted with Sir Bobby Robson. But there seems to be this thing about us where, we forget where we are, and we had a good thing at the time. And just because we had a bad few starts of the season, bad few games of the season, we thought we needed to get rid of Sir Bobby Robson, and it was one of the worst decisions we ever made, because Graham Souness was a horrible, horrible manager for our club, and again ruined our club and got rid of a lot of good players that brought good times back to Newcastle United in the early 2000s. And I think Graham Souness regrets it. And I think that's why he talks about Newcastle in the way he does. He very rarely says anything positive because he knows he failed with us.
I would agree, Pete. Yeah, I would agree. There's a whole host of people. I mean, you mentioned Simon Jordan. He probably joins the Danny Murphy club for doing huge U-turns, because he's certainly not as negative towards Newcastle as he used to be, and certainly prepared to listen to what people say. The likes of me, Craig Hope, and we've gone on, have had time to speak, and he's listened to what some of us have said. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting. Dave, have you got any more points to make tonight?
Yeah, other than the fact I agree with you at the start, I think we're past safe now. I think in my heart of hearts, I'd like to think we'll stay up, but my head says, nah, we've gone. We haven't got what it takes. I mean, I know we've got three of our talisman to come back when we get one of them back up at the weekend, but I think it's just too little too late. Honestly, I'd love to see us stay up, obviously, but I think the one thing I would say, if we do stay up and that the takeover doesn't happen, like I said last time, and we've still got Bruce next year, we're going to get more of the same. We're looking at 15, 16, 17 next year, and I can't be doing with it. I really can't. I'm fed up with the whole thing that you were saying. Let's be absolutely fed up with the backseat for the whole lot of them. Can't be bothered.
Yeah, I mean, there was one bright spark of the game. Somebody who I said I would have picked Dave in the last lineup that I put out, and that's Murphy. I mean, he came on and he changed the game straight away. He came on, he hit the bar, he almost created a goal, and then he was part of the equaliser. You know what I mean? His cross was met obviously by Lascelles, who put the ball in the back of the net. But I mean, there is a bright spot there. It's just whether Steve Bruce sees it in the next team selection against Brighton. And it seems to me as if he's made his mind up that he's going to go into each game looking for a point.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, when you look at the setup, I mean, my heart sank on Friday when the team sheet came out, and I just thought, what on earth are you doing, fella? 52,000 fans are saying this is what we're playing. Twitter was full of it. You guys were on. I mean, I remember reading your tweets saying this is what we have. And I joke with a mate of mine who I know when he texts when the matches are on, I was saying, I honestly think Steve Bruce gets somebody to go through all of the fan base. Right, that's what they want. I'll do the opposite. They want Murphy, that's not going to help me. And I just can't see it. I mean, we've all said we can see where the good players are, like Murphy and whatever, and then you get a centre forward who's a proper centre forward. And what do? You put him on the wing. I mean, come on. That's just bonkers. I just can't get my head around it. I really can't. I just wish he would play, as you said earlier on, Steve, go out with a view to win. If we don't win, we'll get a draw. You've got the view for a draw, you're not going to draw, you're going to lose. I'd rather see I lost 2 points rather than I gained a point. He said, we're on a great run the other week. What, 3 draws? How is it? 3 draws? That's not a great run. That's less than average, so I don't know. Yeah. I'm getting to the point where I think I've had enough. I really am. I'm getting old and That's it. Never mind.
I don't even think it's got anything to do with age, Dave. Age essentially is just a number. I think ultimately we're all just getting sick and tired. I mean, Mitch made the point the other night. I mean, Chris Betts, who's probably the same age as me, he's jacking it in. He's going to non-league, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people doing the same. And we're entering a new world really, because COVID hasn't gone away. It's still hanging around like a bad smell. Thornton's has gone out of business now. All their shops are closing with immediate effect. We've got more idiots standing outside Westminster tonight. Although I agree with that cause, more people putting people at risk by standing and protesting down in London tonight against a law that's going through. And we're going to be going into a brand new world, Dave. It's and football's a big part of that. And unfortunately for Newcastle, they're going to find that they're not going to have as many fans, because we lost 10,000 pre-COVID. I think we're going to be walking into a St James's Park, which potentially could have maybe 35,000 in for a very first game when they've got full capacity, because the likes of you, the likes of Chris Betts and other people will probably have just walked away. And yet, once someone walks away, they don't always come back, and that's a big problem for our football club, which we're going to have to tackle. And whether that's Mike Ashley or whether it's a new owner remains to be seen. But Dave,
I always say you always find time to do things. When you stop doing them, you no longer have the time. Well, you did have the time. You fill your day with other things, and Newcastle won't be one of them. I think it'll be 20,000 plus will walk away for next year. Things to that. If we're going down, it'll be 20,000 plus. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Dave. Dave, as always, thanks for your call, mate. Look forward to having you on again. Take care. Good to have Dave on. If you want to join the show tonight, just click the link in the description box. We're going to bring Dave Reid in a second. Yeah, I mean, Chris, Dave makes a good point about the pundits. We've had our little chat about that. But like I'm saying, I think, we are going into a brand new world, aren't we, over the next 2-3 years. Things will be different. And, financial issues for people will also dictate whether they can go to the match. And Newcastle's going to be affected as other clubs are going to be affected. There'll be thousands will walk away if Bruce and Ashley are still there, but there'll also be thousands have to walk away because they can't afford to go. And the first thing you cut when you lose your job, unfortunately, is those things that give you a bit of pleasure, and people won't be able to afford to go to the match. Some people.
Yeah, it's worrying. I mean, we're gonna lose a lot, like you say, naturally, in terms of not having the money to be able to go, because as we've seen over the years, the cost of going to a football match nowadays, it's not cheap, is it? Once you take into account the pre-drinks, food, souvenirs, stuff like that, it doesn't half add up, especially if you want to take your family. So when you do pay your well-earned hard money, you want to see a good performance. And if we continue to be given the dross that we watch most weeks, fans will either walk away because they physically can't afford it, or they'll walk away and think, you know what, I'd rather spend my money elsewhere. I'd rather go and watch a non-league club, and the players give their all, and they're actually competing and trying. Where at times it feels like we don't do that, and if it almost feels as well, and this is the frustration, it feels like we're not set up to try. And I think that's where most of our frustrations come from. I mean, I'd be very hard pushed to hear any Newcastle fans say the team's not good enough, the quality's not there. I haven't heard anybody say that. I mean, obviously, we could all improve, and there's certain positions you want to improve, and certain players who you would like to upgrade on. But I don't hear anybody saying, "Oh, he's rubbish." He could be there all day, and it still wouldn't make a difference. It's the way we're set up, and it's the team that we're putting out.
Yeah, I would agree. Big thank you, as always, to our sponsors, Spider VPN. We've got a special giveaway with them tomorrow night for everybody in the chat. So Spider VPN have been with us February and now through March, sponsoring the StreamYard application. Also, a big shout out to Geordie Riffs, premium guitar lessons for beginners and children, guitar repairs and service and recording studio. Their website's www.geordieriffs.co.uk, Facebook Geordie Riffs Official. Give them a follow on Instagram. At Geordie Riffs. They're desperately trying to build up their Instagram. So if you're on that particular social media platform, please give Geordie Riffs a follow at Geordie Riffs on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram as well at Steve Wraith. I'm not sure whether Chris and Peter are on, but I'm sure they will tell you if they are. But give Geordie Riffs a follow. Very important. It helps them build up their profile and their community on there. Also, a big shout out to John at qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend. And also a big shout out to Jab Signature, the makers of our flyers and posters. And if you're a first time visitor to the channel, click subscribe. Just hit that little Newcastle Legends banner down in the bottom right hand corner. It is free, just helps you keep in touch with what we're doing on the channel. 7 shows a week as we do throughout the pandemic. Hit the like button, that's the little thumb. Hit the share button, that shares it to your social media, and comment in the chat. Plenty of nice friendly people in the chat who will share their opinions with you on Newcastle United. And if you missed the show, we are available on your favourite podcast provider such as iTunes and Spotify. Give them a listen, and we've got a whole back catalogue over the last year of shows, different playlists which will suit you all. So we've got a few people waiting. Got David, got Dunhill, and we've got John, who are all sitting waiting to come on. So we'll crack through these. Good evening, David.
Hiya.
Good to see you.
Hi, mate.
Good to see you, mate. Go on, you've got your 5 minutes, mate, to give us your views.
First of all, I don't know what's going on in London today, but violence against women is totally wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a busy weekend, hasn't it? I can't agree more with you on that. I don't agree with what's going on at the minute. I understand where everyone's coming from with regards to, this law that they're trying to push through, mate. But, it's a COVID pandemic. The last thing we need is another protest in London. And, they're standing outside Westminster tonight, and I think it's absolutely ludicrous, mate. But anyway, that's for a different show. Newcastle United. What have you got to say on that?
Right. So, first of all, rumours of Wilder coming in.
Oh, God. Right, okay.
For me, no. He should have stayed at Sheffield United, and they should have kept him and done in Norwich. Keep them, and then we'll get them back up. Formation on Friday, why Fraser up front? Never mind. Joe Linton, I think his best game was against Morecambe. It wasn't on Friday night. He's got a 5-year contract, so maybe send him out on loan for a year to the Championship so he can toughen up, score some goals, get some confidence, and then maybe come back. Saturday, I think we've got to start Carroll and Jolinton and Fraser or Murphy, because we don't have Wilson, ASM or Mickey. So that's what I would go with. And I think Jolinton's best position is probably the left of a 4-3-3. That's it.
Good points, as always. Always good to see you on, David. Pete will come to you. We'll just take your views on what David's had to say, because we've got other people waiting. Pete, over to you, mate.
No, he made some good points. For me, I just think it's too late to make a management change. I just think if we'd have done it after we lost to Sheffield United or after we lost to Aston Villa away, I think we'd have had time to bed in a formation, bed in a style of play with a new manager, and it would have given us enough time to then accumulate some points. And I don't think we would have been in the position we are now.
I think we should have sacked him after Brentford.
Well, yeah, there's an argument even before Christmas. But yeah. I'm just talking about when it got really, really bad. And Sheffield United, Villa, you can even go, with Arsenal as well. Any of those games, you could have got rid of him, and it would have been 100% justified. If we were to sack Steve Bruce after Saturday, which I know has been a lot of the talk over the last couple of days, and there's been talk about, we've been talking to various managers. I don't particularly believe it myself, but even if we were, it's going to take a manager a couple of weeks to even set in a formation or a way of playing under his management. And that's always difficult. You know, we had the same with Rafa Benitez. It took him a couple of weeks to get things going when he took over the club before we actually saw that style of play come to fruition. But you can't do that with 7-8 games left in the season. It's too late. It's too late, and that's where the banners have come out by war flags. It's far too late to make those sort of big decisions.
Well, David, it's not worked before, has it?
Well, it hasn't. It hasn't because it's been too late every single time, and this is why as fans and the banners from war flags, and this is why we've been banging the drum for weeks now, going back a couple of months, to make the change early, to give us a chance to not be in the exact position that we're in now. Because look, we on NUFC Matters, even on the Matchday Lives, we saw this back in November. We've been calling it since back then. We knew what we could see coming through. And it goes back and it links into the punditries and all the points that we make. There's no better people than the fans of the club that know the club the best. We've seen it. We've seen it. We breathe it every day. We see it in our own eyes in every single performance. We knew what was coming. We knew that Bruce wasn't right for the job. We knew what was coming in terms of the down spiral of results. We knew that if it continued in this way, that we'd end up in the bottom three. And by Friday, that can be a reality. And that's the reality of it all. And I'm sick and tired of the ownership not believing or going with what the fans suggest. And this is the thing. We're going to end up playing football in the Championship. And even if we don't, if we end up with Steve Bruce in charge for another Premiership season, as Steve's mentioned earlier, you're going to get a flock of fans, including myself, that will walk away. I've been onto a different subject. I've been turning down taking on management and coaching positions on Saturday football because I support Newcastle. I want to go and watch games away, and I want to travel with the fans, and I want to go to St James's Park. If Steve Bruce is still in charge at any level next season at Newcastle United, I'm going to go and manage and coach at local football instead, and I'm going to enjoy time with the lads doing something I enjoy rather than spending my time following that club. It's a joke.
Can I just quickly come in?
Yeah. Go for it, Dave.
We've tried this twice before. Shearer comes in, didn't save her. Rafa came in, didn't save her. Who honestly will come in and save her? I don't think we'll go down, so I think we'll just have to stick with what we've got, get to the summer, whatever happens, he's gone, regardless.
The most logical thing to do, Dave, for me, would have been to just get rid of Bruce and just stick with Graham Jones, because at least he's been in and around it for the past few weeks. That would be the most sensible option, but whether or not that happens, I don't know. I agree with Pete. I don't think it probably would still be too late, and I don't think that he would make that change.
Now, as for your point on Wilder, no, I wouldn't take him. I'm not sure what the other guys think, but Wilder for me wouldn't be able to take it. I've said this before on the Three Amigos. It's got to be somebody who comes in, who gets the area, buys into the club, buys into the fans, buys into the area. It takes special people to do that. Our history tells you that. And whether it's Rafa Benitez, whether it's Kevin Keegan, whether it's Joe Harvey, whether it's Arthur Cox, Chris Hughton got our trust because of the way that he dealt with things, probably to a lesser extent. But it takes a special person. So Bobby Robson, it takes a special person who buys into the area and the club, and they have to earn the respect of the fans. And if they earn the respect of the fans, it goes a hell of a long way. And that's not saying that a manager has to come in and butter up the fans. That just means that you're genuine. You're somebody who gets the club, and you do what you see you're going to do. And if there's a dispute to have with the owner, then tell us what's going on, because all we want is communication. Just let us know what's going on. We don't want to know what the cost of a player is or whatever. We know we're not going to get to the insides of a deal, but like Rafa did, and like he lost his job because of it, really. If there's a problem with the owner and he's trying to hang out to dry, then make sure the fans know, and that's what Rafa did, and I've got to respect him for that. But Dave, we've got another 2 callers. Thanks for coming on, mate. Great points as always. Always good to have you on, mate. And as I say, wholeheartedly agree with your stance on the women's situation at the weekend. So take care, mate. See you again. Bringing in Dunno. Good evening, mate. How are you?
Good evening, guys. How are you doing?
Very good, mate. Good to see you. We've got John Mockler coming next, so we've got about 5 minutes with you. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, right. What I'd like to say is, first of all, there's a clear lack of disrespect between Mr. Bruce and Mr. Jones. Because one thing I noticed after the Everton win, he did not give Jones any credit for how he changed things round in terms of formation-wise. Now, I mean, like a lot of people, I'd never heard of Jones, but when I'd heard that he'd worked with Roberto Martinez at Belgium, I thought, there's somebody who knows what he's doing. We got somebody there who's got an idea, who knows what he's doing, but I think that has got on Steve Bruce's goat, personally, that there's somebody here who is a better coach than him, let's face it. Mm-hmm. And second thing I'd like to say, this Steve Bruce is a Geordie, that, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't wash anymore, because the way I feel it, his heart is really Man United. He doesn't give a monkey's bottom about our club. He's just after the payoff. What I would like to see is, I'll be careful how I put this, but should we get a change of should we get that change of ownership, which we all fans deserve, which is clubbed for years and years. We want a manager in who gets the club, and when Newcastle get beat, it bloody hurts inside, because all of us as fans, all these losses we've had, yes, we take them with it when we go, but inside we all hurt. And Newcastle is a club. It's in your heart. It's not it's not like stamp collecting, a hobby and all that. It's, it's almost like a second girlfriend if you're married, No, I'm so sorry to put it like that. I don't respect.
I think I see where you're coming from, Donald. I know what you mean. Yeah, it is. It's being a Newcastle fan is supposed to be enjoyable, but it can take over your life. And I know there's some fans who sadly are no longer with us. John the Undertaker, for example, John the Badge. Just to name 2 that I know, there's one who's still alive, Piper, who goes to every single game, home and away, and he's a dustman by trade. He's not been in great health over recent years, but another one who that's his life. Cliffy Ahmed from South Shields, who used to go to every single game, home and away. Bit of an eccentric character, but all of those people. That was their lives, you know what I mean? And for people like me, you're a married man, you've got, you have to make those kind of sacrifices, you know what I mean? And it's one of them things, we all do it, but you're right, it is having another relationship, you know what I mean? Blaster, Nicholas has mentioned one there as well, Big Blaster from the Felon, another guy who I remember fondly, who used to go to every game, but you're right. Chris, your thoughts on what Dundal's had to say?
I've made loads of notes there. I absolutely love that, mate. Really good. I'm gonna start off by saying, my wife has questioned my loyalty a few times when it comes to Newcastle. She wants to know whether she's second or first. And I've had to reassure her she's first, obviously. Yeah. But she knows, I live and breathe the club, even though I'm from Liverpool. All my dad's side are from Newcastle, and it's just been drilled into me since I was a kid. And the trouble that we've got at the moment is that it's just a bad relationship with Newcastle at the minute, isn't it? And I think we're all feeling it. It really is. It is, mate. It is. And if I'm not thinking about Newcastle, I'm talking about Newcastle, and I just love being involved in it. But it is really, it's really like heartbreaking, isn't it? When you realise that we've got a manager essentially who I don't think he shares what we share. Like what I loved about Rafa was, and Bobby Dobson and Kevin Keegan, you could go on, was you could visibly see like they were annoyed when a result didn't go our way, or they felt like something hadn't quite happened for us. I mean, I watched a video, it was a few months back, on Bobby Robson, and I think it was after we'd been beaten by Arsenal, and he was proper ranting about it, and I absolutely loved it. You know, he was so passionate, and he was so, you know, interested. And I think that's the problem with Bruce. You know, he's not endearing himself to fans, because, being honest, you know, whenever we lose or we drop points or something doesn't go quite right, he just looks scared. And the reason he looks scared is because he doesn't want to speak to the media about it, and he doesn't want to feel uncomfortable and people question his position. That's my genuine feeling. I don't think, and I think the Man United game with Ollie after the match showed that. He will argue that, okay, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's his mate, he should have the right to speak to him, and that's fine. No one's got an issue with that. But you do it in the dressing room, you know, behind closed doors. And for me, I wouldn't say what he did was wrong. I just think it was stupid, and I think it just shows a lack of awareness. You know, we've all said that media-wise, he's clearly not been trained, or he doesn't listen to people. And it really bothered me, because I thought, you're from the area, and you just don't look bothered in the slightest. He didn't look like he had a care in the world. You'd think we were 8th or something, and Europe was too far away. We were nowhere near the relegation zone. That was his persona. That's what it looked like to me. And you know, it's really sad to see. And just to touch briefly on you know, Jones, for me, I think the whole falling out with Jones, the biggest thing for me is, I think Bruce sees Jones as a babysitter, and I think that Bruce sees Jones as a babysitter, and he doesn't like it. It's like Ashley's come in and gone, you look after Bruce, you know, he's struggling, and that's how I think Bruce sees it. I think Bruce thinks, I don't need looking after, I can do this myself. Well, evidently you can't, and that's why you've had a minder brought in, because you can't be trusted to do the job yourself. And I agree with what you said, mate. Final thing, I agree with what you say, you know, about Bruce's heart with Man United. And I think Pete mentioned this a few weeks ago. That's clearly the case. And again, it's just sad, isn't it, that, you know, you've got a local lad, and all right, he's had a fantastic career at Man United. I'm not taking that away from him, but you know, you're in your hometown club. You know, show a bit of passion, show a bit of pride, and actually look bothered. That's all we want as fans. We just want him to, you know, look bothered and actually look like he's been affected by, you know, the results. And clearly he isn't, and that's what hurts the most.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other points, Donald, before I bring John in?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, in terms of adding to the managers who've got the club, let's not forget the late, great Glenn Roeder as well. You know, he definitely had it there. His heart was there, and then NUFC, definitely.
Yeah, he's certainly. You're 100% right, mate. And I mean, well done to the club. I mean, they did pay tribute to him, which was right. The players had the armbands on, and you know, the coaches obviously lined up, and the players did on the pitch. And a fitting tribute. It's just a pity the rest of us weren't there to do the same. I know we all did in our own ways on social media, but you're 100% right. Glenn Roeder did get it, mate. And I think you're 100% right. But Dunno, thanks as always for coming on, mate. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and you take care and have a good week.
You too, mate. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate. Bye bye. Great to have so many different fans on with so many different views. We'll finish tonight with John. Good evening, John Mockler.
Evening, lads.
Good to see you, mate. Give us your views and what you'd like to say tonight, mate, please.
Where do you start? It's rotten. The club is rotten, and it starts at the top with Meg Ashley. We lost 10,000 season tickets last year. God knows how many we're going to lose this year if Bruce stays in charge. Putting your eggs all in one basket, it has never been used so much as this. What's going on right now with the club? He is hoping for this takeover to go through. It doesn't seem to be a plan B. The plan B is we get relegated, we lose more fans, and we will not go back with the Premier League for a long, long time. It's demoralising watching the football. There's just nothing about it. I don't trust Bruce. The players just don't seem interesting. We've got a £40 million striker who can't even kick a ball. My 5-year-old son can kick a better football than Joe Linton. He's put Fraser on the up front by him, like through the middle. He's put Gale on the wing. Gale's the striker. Fraser's meant to be the winger. You've got Bringani Karam for 30 seconds against West Brom. Does this man actually know what he's doing with Bruce as well? I'm just lost for words, lads. Just totally and utterly lost.
I can hear your frustration. It's exactly how I felt last week, mate. I've got to be perfectly honest. I mean, most people who watch the show on a regular basis know that I mean, Chris was going to be doing the show anyway at the weekend. I didn't want to watch the match, John. It's got us to that extreme, and it's not very often that I'm like that. But I think being at home and COVID and not having your normal life, I think ultimately affects us all. But Newcastle's supposed to be the one chink of enjoyment, isn't it? It's the one thing we're supposed to be able to look forward to. And if you combine the horrendous atmosphere that's been on social media for the last 12 months, mainly thanks to the takeover that hasn't gone through yet, and mainly thanks to the fact that we've got a dinosaur in charge of a football team, that really has got us all on a downer. And I think you're just doing what I did last week, John. We're all on that downward spiral, and it's going to get worse, because if we get, I won't be happy with the draw at the weekend. I think if we get a point, I still don't think it's good enough because of the games we've got coming up. I think if we get beat, which is likely at the weekend, Newcastle's the favourite for the drop, for that third bottom place, John. So I thoroughly understand your frustrations, mate. Pete, what do you think about what John's had to say?
I think you made some great points, and I think it is an example of where we are right now. We've got a manager that's just not good enough. We've got players that are all over the place right now. I think you're absolutely right. You mean the fact that you got Fraser playing through the middle. He's a winger traditionally. He doesn't play through the centre. He's previously away at Wolves played him as a centre midfielder alongside Hendrick. So he's played all over the place when he's not actually been playing in his rightful position. But yet, us as fans are obviously wanting to see the Fraser of Bournemouth. But how can he be when he's not playing in his rightful position and not being given the minutes to produce his best football? Particularly after missing the best part of 6 months without playing at all. So you've got all that runs into it. But the players look lost, ultimately. They look lost. They haven't got guidance. You look at the two teams that we're going up against that are trying to stay in the league alongside us. You've got Brighton, who they've got a manager that they believe in his style of play. They believe in his philosophy. Okay, they're not scoring goals, but they believe in it. That's why they're not getting stick. As fans have said, why aren't Brighton getting stick? Because they're not scoring goals, they're losing games. It's because they've got a manager that they believe in. And so no negativity comes out from that club. You've got Fulham that have got a young, inexperienced manager who you've got a group of players there that literally hang on his every word because he is bigging his players up every single week. We talk about how Sir Bobby Robson made you feel 10 foot tall. The likes of Kieran Dyer, Gary Speed, Alan Shearer, all those players, Craig Bellamy, that talk about Sir Bobby Robson and how he made them feel. That's exactly what Scott Parker is doing to Fulham right now, which is why they're playing with confidence. If you look at our team compared to theirs, our team is better individually with better players. Our squad is better with better players. But they've got a manager that they believe in, that makes them feel great, that makes them feel confident. We have that. We haven't had that since Rafa Benitez. And Steve Bruce has absolutely decimated any confidence that we have in our squad, in our team, in our club. And that's just the reality. I mean, we haven't really touched on it tonight with regards to one player. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about Alan St-Maximin, because I think it ties into how players are feeling right now. In my opinion, with all of what's going on with Alan St-Maximin, for me, this is the long goodbye. And I think this is him making his move. I think this is him playing up against the club because I think he's trying to force his way out. And I'll be very, very surprised, even if we stay in the Premier League, if he stays at the club. Because I think he's looking at this right now. He's thinking, I'm 24 years old, right? I've given a couple of years to this club. I've made my name in the Premier League. People know about me now. I can't stay at this club, although I love the club and I love the fans and I love the city. I can't stay at this club under this ownership and under this management because I'm not going to go anywhere in my career. And I think this is him, really pushing back against Bruce and the club, not against the fans or the city, but I think this is him for trying to force his way out. And I don't think he'll be the only one. I think Callum Wilson won't be far behind him, and I don't think Miggy will be very much far behind Callum Wilson. And this is the problem. You know, it's all right buying these players, but you've got to build a philosophy and you've got to give them something that's going to make them want to stay at this club. The fans in the city, unfortunately, for how great we are as fans and for how amazing the city is, it is not enough. You have to have ambition. You have to have a level of quality or foresight in the future that you want to be somewhere in order to keep those quality of players. And the takeover, I believe, has been a saving grace over the last year. But with how messed up it is at the moment, and you've got people talking about 2022, you've got people talking about might not even be done by the start of next season. We don't know when it's going to be done. And for all that uncertainty, feels the uncertainty of these players. And these players are lost right now. They're in a relegation battle with no guidance. They're in a club with no future, no forward thinking, and they're thinking, you know what am I doing here? And that's where we are right now.
Yeah, nobody disagrees with you on the chat, and I certainly don't disagree with you. Chris, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's a fair point, isn't it? We're hurtling towards relegation, and a lot of these players will probably be running quicker towards the exit door if we do go down than they do on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree with Pete. That front three are gone. They're gone. And I think, unfortunately, and we've said this a few weeks ago, haven't we? We're going to be left with the players who really we should be replacing or that we don't need. That, I firmly believe John Joe Shelby will hang on in there. And, the talk this week as well of clubs having these players on massive salaries and they've got no relegation clause. They're just going to dig their feet in. And, obviously they're fully entitled to do that. But that is where we're going to end up. We're going to end up with a load of players who either aren't good enough or don't really want to be there, but they're on fantastic salaries. And again, as I keep repeating, on the two previous times that we've been relegated, the first time we had a fantastic squad with a fantastic mentality, and really we were lucky to hang on to the players that we did in order to get us straight back up. And then, the last time we had Rafa Benitez. And Rafa Benitez had already highlighted who we needed, what we needed, and he sorted it. Bruce, I envisage that we will keep hold of Bruce, especially if the takeover doesn't happen. And if we go into a new championship season with Bruce, not only are we going to have no fans at the stadium when we're eventually allowed back in, but we're going to have no hope either. Because Steve Bruce will probably just bring in a load of journeymen, or he'll look at other championship players and go, great, we'll have him. And then it'll come to the point where he goes, right, where am I going to put these players? Because I don't think he's got a plan. I don't think he's got an idea of where the club's going forward. Somebody popped up on the chat before there saying round pegs and square holes. I couldn't put it any better, because that is exactly what it is. And, the match at the weekend showed that for me. I mean, you could have seen, and I hope Pete agrees with me, I think it was on the hour mark, everyone, I think the whole country of Newcastle fans were all screaming for Andy Carroll. The game needed Andy Carroll.
Even me, I can't stand Andy Carroll. He was in the team that I named the other week. I said he's got to start, and when he did his contribution at the weekend, I mean, I did see match of the day, as you know, I didn't watch the game, but he contributed to the goal.
Yeah, do you know what, Steve? I think he played, was it about 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Pete, am I right in saying that? Yeah. And in those 6 minutes, he was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And you're just thinking, we're all looking and going, why hasn't he started? But if we're all saying that, and why aren't the bench thinking that? Why isn't Steve Bruce thinking that? Andy Carroll must just be thinking, what have I got to do to get in this team?
He needs to do Duncan Ferguson and break down the door. He needs to break down that door on training ground and go, why am I playing for? Yeah. How can Joe Linton get ahead of him at the moment? I'm gobsmacked. No Longstaff brothers. They're your soul of your team. They're the young Newcastle United players who have put everything in. The running stats said the other day that the Longstaff brothers had ran the most in midfield when they had played. We need
John, I mean, people didn't really pick up on it on the tweet that I put out the other week, but my team that I picked was full of Geordies, mate. And I'm not doing a Sir John Hall here, but like Ken Foster just says there in the chat, talking about Matty Longstaff or Andy Carroll, he's a local lad and cares. And that's why my team included the likes of Paul Dummett, Matty Longstaff and Andy Carroll, because local lad, Jacob Murphy as well. He's a Newcastle fan. Now, I know it doesn't make much of a difference maybe to some people, but I brought this up with Mick Lowe's at the weekend. He's going to want to win. Do you know what I mean? He's going to want to bust a gut to try and keep Newcastle up because he's a fan. He doesn't want to let the fans down. That plays its part. And you tell me that somebody who's getting paid millions of pounds and doesn't have a connection to the area is going to put in as much effort as somebody who's black and white through and through and who was born in the area. I'm afraid you're talking absolute garbage because, yeah.
I was going to say, you're absolutely right. You look at Dwight Gale and you look at Andy Carroll, and that is the difference. Everyone's talking about, and this is what I don't understand right now. Everyone's talking about Dwight Gale should be starting because he's a goal scorer. I'm sorry, he's played, yes, at times in different positions, but you look at his body language on the pitch. He couldn't care less. He's out of the club in the summer. He's gone, and he knows he's gone. He don't care less whether we go down or staying up because he knows we're not staying at the club. Whereas you look at that 6 minutes or 7 minutes of Andy Carroll and he's battering defenders and he's battering them down and he's causing havoc. And like Steve said, that havoc is what created the opportunity for us to score the goal. You put him in there against Brighton. Brighton's back four of Dunk and Webster or White, or whoever plays alongside Dunk, will know that they're in a game and he will cause havoc. And what he does, he allows the likes of Fraser, the likes of Murphy, the likes of Miggy to come into those little pockets and hopefully try and nick us something the other end. He becomes a force. And that's what we need to be going on. Not the likes of Dwight Gale, not with the guys that don't care about the club, not with the guys that don't want to be at the club, right? Don't play those type of guys. Play the ones that are fighting for the shirt. Joe Willock, a Londoner, fighting for the shirt. You know, Isaac Hayden, Londoner, fighting for the shirt. Sean Longstaff needs an opportunity in the team. And although we've given a lot of stick over the season, for the last 2 weeks, I've been saying, Sean Longstaff in this formation, in this style of play, will play better. He will put performances in because he'll have the support around him to be able to get forward and do what he does best. Arrive late in the box, get on the end of chances and score goals, which is ultimately what we need to stay in the league. It makes sense. But the problem is, and it goes back to your point, and you've said about the fact of Carroll banging down the door, Carroll's been doing that for months. You go back in all the journalists and all the stories that have been written since probably from early December. Andy Carroll's been banging down the door for weeks now, for months now. Bruce doesn't care. He doesn't listen. He's not interested. He's playing the players that he wants to play. And that's the problem. And that's the biggest thing. It's about an absolute neglect from a manager of his own players.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic rant show tonight. John, thanks for playing your part.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Look forward to getting you back on again, mate. Some great points. Well made, mate. Take care. Have a good week.
Wait, 3 points for the weekend, lads. How are we?
Fingers crossed, lad. Great to have so many guests on. Took a little bit of time to warm up, but we never get let down by the people in the chat. Some wonderful callers, some great people on, and no sexual noises in view tonight, lads. We went viral last week. Great stuff, lads. Great to have you on as always. We've gone into a little bit of extra time, but look forward to seeing you guys at the weekend. Don't forget, I am back in less than half an hour now with Ladies' Night. I'm joined by a few of the girls to talk over the game at the weekend and look ahead, of course, to next weekend's fixture against Brighton and a few things in between. Chris, Pete, see you at the weekend, lads. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Thanks, Steve. See you, Pete.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past.